We're live, Simon.
We're live. Okay, and hello everybody. Welcome to episode 15 of Bank to the Future Live. For those of you that are new to this, because we have onboarded approximately 10,000 new investors over the last couple of days. So welcome to the Bank to the Future community. The purpose of this show is I give a lot of content. I'm the founder and CEO of BnkToTheFuture.com, and I'm always asked to give content on Bitcoin, crypto, banking, economics, all sorts of things. But this show is just dedicated to our Bank to the Future community. And that could be two people. It could be investors that are looking to build a portfolio in the future of finance, or it could be a company that's involved in financial technology or crypto that may end up using our platform and become a portfolio company and open for investment on our platform. And so the goal of this is to go through all your questions and just Bank to the Future related content as opposed to some of my other content. So a few things that we can go through here. Firstly, if you have a question, there's a few ways. You can either use the comments and the live chat underneath this video. And Famida is here, and she moderates every single week to pick out questions and try and cut through a bit of the noise and take out some live questions. Or also you might be a member of our Telegram group, and in Telegram you could ask a question there for our community. Please be careful not to join a scam Telegram group. There's lots of scammers out there that want to steal your money and pretend to be us, but there's an official group, and perhaps there'll be a link in the chat, or we can add that somewhere on this video. Also, you could use on Twitter hashtag BFLive. And hashtag BFLive will be looking out for that. So please ask your questions on Twitter, Telegram, or in the live chat. Or if you're watching this recording, we'll try and return to this later and look at some of the comments underneath the video. If you're not watching live, the majority do watch the recording. And so a final bit on housekeeping, because we've got lots that we want to cover today, just to go over that. Firstly, we'll be going over some of the new features on Bank to the Future. The main discussion, which is on Kraken. We've had lots of people ask questions. Kraken is a record-breaking pitch on Bank to the Future. We've had over 1,000 investors over the last few days. So welcome if you're one of those investors. We want to make sure all the new people get to ask their question as well. So we'll be taking questions for the second half. And we also give updates on some of our portfolio companies. We are shareholders through Bank to the Future in approximately 120 different companies in the crypto sphere, whether that be a Bitfinex, a Coinbase, a Kraken, Bitstamp, which recently exited actually, Ripple Labs, Circle, Shapeshift, BitThumb, many others. We've been investing in the industry for a long time, and we've been open up investments to our qualifying investors for a long time as well. So one final thing, just before we dive deep into the content, is we go live every single week on Bank to the Future Live. And so if you want to be notified, please do subscribe to this channel. To do that, just click the subscribe button underneath this video, and there's a little bell symbol next to it. You may not know. When you hit that bell symbol, YouTube will send you a notification right direct to your email registered with YouTube every time we go live and every time we upload a new video, so that you don't miss any content or any opportunities. So I'm just going to dive right into the content now. I've got my show notes up. Before I start sharing my screen and go through the platform a little bit, I'm just going to go through some of the things I want to cover on my show notes. And so the first thing is new pitches live. So obviously most of you are here now because of the Kraken pitch. We're very happy to announce that Kraken is now live with our special SPV structure. For those of you new to Bank to the Future, a little bit on how it actually works. The way that we work is we actually combine and do a hybrid between a venture capital model and a model where multiple investors can invest. And the way that we actually do that is that most companies, they can't take on thousands of investors like Crowdcube, because Kraken rather, because then they'd have to be an actual public company. So what we do is we syndicate them all together into one SPV, and the investors are actually investing into that SPV. What is an SPV? is a special company that we set up for the sole purpose of holding shares in Kraken, in this case. So if you're in Kraken, if you're investing in Kraken, you're investing into the SPV, and for every share you own in the SPV, the special company, it will be backed by one share in Kraken. This way, we're able to pool everybody together and put together a really great structure whereby we could be entered onto the cap table of Kraken without Kraken actually having to be a public company. That may be their goal, that may be their exit strategy in the future. But for now, this allows us to give access to qualifying investors into earlier stage companies that previously were just available for venture capitalists. You either invested in a venture capital fund or you've been investing through Bnk To The Future. And we specialize just in financial technology, crypto companies. We've been around since 2010 as a securities business. And we've been investing in many of the companies in the industry, and many of our investors have built a portfolio, an average of 14 investments per investor, building a diversified portfolio into crypto companies. So the new pitch live was obviously Kraken. That brought in a lot of new investors to our community. Closing soon, we had BTR Exchange. BTR Exchange is one of our earlier stage companies. They're one of the largest crypto brokerages in Romania, and they opened an office in Canada to expand their model across Canada. That will be closing shortly, and it has to reach its minimum funding goal in order to to secure the investment. Also, we got pitches coming soon. So actually, we sold out of most of our pitches. So AirTM recently went live. They believe that everyone in a developing country should have the ability to save in a stable currency, such as the US dollar. And they allow people to use cryptocurrencies and use financial engineering in order to allow people. They've got a large audience in Venezuela, where people are suffering from hyperinflation and bad economic policy, and being able to peg some of their assets to the dollar is actually a life-saving thing for many of the people in some of these countries with challenging currency regimes at the moment. Also, so AirTM sold out, so unfortunately you missed that one. That's completely oversubscribed now, and we're just closing that deal. Also, Bitrefill. Bitrefill is a retail play allowing people to spend their crypto and Bitcoin in using the gift card system. They were over 100% funded. I think it was 200% of their goal in the end. Ended up raising 2 million. And they've also they were one of the first companies to develop on the Lightning Network. And they're allowing people to use Lightning and connect to their Lightning node service. And really trying to do innovation around Bitcoin scalability, as well as allowing people to use their crypto. Also, Phase is I guess another gift card play, allowing a wallet that allows people to use the gift card system to spend their crypto. And they recently closed as well after Anthony Dioro, the co-founder of Ethereum, subscribed to some of their, I think it was a convertible note pitch rather than an equity pitch. So the other pitches that we got coming soon is Edge. We were seed investors in the, it was called Airbits at the time, but Edge is, they've just secured their lead investor. For those of you new, the way we tend to work is when a new pitch comes to our platform, we look for a professional, reputable investor in the industry to lead the round, set the valuation, denominate the terms. There's not always ways, sometimes we will lead. And then we allow people to co-invest via one of our syndicates on the same terms. And so Edge, they've just secured their lead investor. What we do is if someone applies and they haven't got a lead, then we'll try and introduce them to a lead. They've just secured their lead. We're happy to announce that they'll be going live soon. We're just getting that signed off and completing all the due diligence before the pitch goes live. We've also got Token Markets, which is a UK-based company in the FCA sandbox. And they did a lot around securities tokens and in the token market. We've also got live just to our premium members. So if you're not familiar, we have the Bnk To The Future token. And the Bnk To The Future token allows you to get priority access to deals, as well as 50% discounted trading fees when trading through our secondary market, and rewards for due diligence and investor relations, and new features that will come into the platform soon. But any secondary market deal that we launch on our platform is only exclusive to our premium members. So we've got a few at the moment, but the next one coming is blockchain.com, which I believe has more wallets than any company in the crypto space. Maybe Coinbase has a few more, but I think blockchain.com, used to be known as blockchain.info, was the very first one. I remember meeting Nick at one of the very first Bitcoin conferences in the world, the co-founder of blockchain.com, when I spoke at that conference. And they've been around for an awful long time. Also, we've got CoinFirm, which are doing a KYC provider. They've got a new announcement, and they'll be launching their round shortly on Bank to the Future as they make that announcement of their new customer, which we look forward to bringing to the market. All of those are subject to completing the due diligence, getting live, and we announce them, a little bit further. But premium members that hold a minimum of 10,000 Bank to the Future tokens on their BnkToTheFuture.com account or on their BF wallet that they connect to their BnkToTheFuture.com account, they always get 48 hours head start, and they find out about deals before everyone else. And sometimes it completely sells out just for premium members, so it may never go live if you're not actually a premium member. In order to join that, I'll walk you through the platform in a bit as we go through some of the main topics. This bit, actually, I think I'm just going to head over to a screen share to go through. But now live on our beta secondary market is the Circle SPV, the Bitfinex SPV, the Ripple Labs SPV, and the Coinbase SPV. So I'm just going to head over to a screen share at this stage. In fact, I'll do that in a little bit. I'll just go through some of the other news. So the way that our secondary market works is that when a company achieves a certain status, i.e. they're a household brand, much like Kraken, Coinbase, Ripple Labs, Bitfinex, Circle, and many of the other companies that we've got going live on the Bank to the Future secondary market once we come out of beta, we have an OTC order book that allows you to place buy and sell orders and buy them from other qualifying investors on Bank to the Future, or sell them to other qualifying investors on Bank to the Future. And this creates price discovery. If you invest in a new deal, is subject to certain lock-in periods. Many people get a bit confused with this because we're dealing with international securities laws, and securities laws in each country is different for every jurisdiction. We're the very first securities business in the crypto space, and we've been doing this for an awful long time, going through all the different securities laws, all the different jurisdictions, to make sure that we have a custom onboarding process unique to certain jurisdictions. So I'll give you a little walk through that before we start going through the portfolio news, and then taking your questions. And there's many questions related to Kraken that we'll be going through as well. Just on some news on the Bank to the Future token, we recently launched an integration between the Bank to the Future token, which is ticker symbol BFT, and Trezor. So that is now available on your Trezor wallet, so you can hold it in your hardware wallet, control your private keys, and store those safely in your own wallet. Exodus, also one of our portfolio companies, the nicest, I personally think the best user experience for owning your own private keys and having a desktop wallet. Exodus has recently launched support for the BF token. And also, we can't endorse any of these exchanges. You've got to do your own research. But a new exchange did launch Bank to the Future tokens, and that is going to end up with a pair with the Korean won. As I said, you have to be very careful with these exchanges. Please do your own research. But they told us that coinbit.co.kr, I haven't used the exchange. We can't place any recommendations. And there seems some strange price behavior on there, but they recently announced that the Bank to the Future token is on there to a closed loop, and it will eventually lead to a Korean won pairing, apparently. But please do your own research. We're not involved with these exchanges in any way. Bank to the Future token is an open source token, so any exchange that wants to list it is free and welcome to do that, but we can't put any personal endorsements on any of those exchanges. So I'm just going to put back to my screen now, and hopefully you'll be seeing my screen after I press this button, and I should disappear into a little dot. Again, Famida, if there's any issues, just let me know, interrupt. Otherwise, I'm just going to carry on, and hopefully you're seeing my screen rather than my face. So just want to go through a couple of things that I showed you. So when you go to the Bnk To The Future platform, all of our new offerings and new deals are actually listed here. And you can also see some of our previous deals. So a new feature here is when a company exits. So just so if you're not familiar with investing in private equity, then the way that it actually works is an exit is how you make returns when investing in a private company. There are several ways for that to be achieved. One is that a company comes along and buys them, and that's what happened with Bitstamp. So Bitstamp did their second round with us. The lead investor was Pantera Capital, and then we did an exclusive syndicate for Bitstamp. Then a company came along, a large Korean company that owns the Corebit exchange as well, and bought Bitstamp and acquired it. So all of the investors at that stage get a return based upon a multiple of how much higher the share price that the acquisition paid. Also, the company could be longer term going public onto a stock market, or the management might decide that they want to buy out their shareholders. Those are the three ways. The fourth way is that after lock-in periods, which is a minimum of 1 year if you're a US investor, the secondary market for buying is not open to US at the moment, but after your lock-in period, you can place a sell order. And our OTC market works as follows. You go to the trade page. It's currently in beta because at the moment we haven't opened up all deposit methods. We're going to be integrated with 35 different fiat currencies to allow you to deposit fiat as well as crypto, as well as things like Tether, which is what we're opening with in beta. And you can go there and you can see the different companies that might make our OTC book. This is only for larger, more established companies. Something like Kraken would certainly qualify. There's a 1 year lock-in period for US, and most non-US is a 3 months minimum until you be able to place a sell order. But you can go here and you can see some of the activities, click on the trade page, and you can see some more information here about the SPV, the market cap and different statistics. You can see all the people that are placing buy orders that want to buy at certain prices, and you can take some of those orders, or you can place a sell order and another qualifying investor could take those. And we automate the process of you transferring funds through escrow and signing the shareholder agreements. You can see some price action and volume action, and you can see a history of all those trades there as well that have occurred. And it's a very simple user experience to place that. But we're currently in beta. Once we integrate all of the deposit payment methods, then we'll be coming out of beta and we'll be adding more and more companies to that. Our goal is to get all of the major companies in crypto where we can actually have some market pricing for those. But that's how the beta secondary market works. So when you invest in a company, there's pretty much 4 ways. Either the company goes public, is a long-term strategy, or it's acquired by another company and the share price increase happens. You might get dividends. For example, Bitfinex has paid many times over what was originally invested in dividends, but that's very rare. Dividends is not really a normal method for you trying to receive returns from a private company. Or the management might end up buying the company, or you place it qualifies for our secondary market, and you place an order and somebody acquires those at a higher price than what you originally invested in. So long-term, high-risk, high-return investing. The only approach that venture capitalists that win in this game is diversify widely, only invest what you can afford to lose, and think of it like that. Having said that, we have had some very high-return opportunities, and we have had companies that have gone bust as well. So you can see our previous deals here. You can see the Bitfinex, that was their previous deal that we did, and Bitstamp and Shapeshift and Securitize, and we also offer different types of deals like convertible notes, equity, securities tokens, utility tokens sold in compliance with securities laws like Rootstock and Telegram did. And then we've got more equity deals. We've got banks here, early ones that we did, Wirex, BitPay, and many others from our investment portfolio. Okay, so that's that. And I said, yeah, I just wanted to give you a quick demo of the companies on our beta secondary market. And you can see those here. You got the Ripple Labs SPV. Remember, you're not buying and selling shares in Ripple. We own shares, the SPV owns shares in Ripple, and you're buying and selling shares in the SPV. That's what allows it to happen. The same for the Coinbase SPV, the Circle SPV, which owns the USDC stablecoin, Circle Pay, and various other assets, and Bitfinex, the parent company, as well, via the SPV structure. So before we go through your questions, just going to have a little check on time. I like to try and stop talking at the half-hour mark, so I've got another 8 minutes before for me to run through your questions, and we get through as many as we can, and then we stop on the 1 hour mark. So what have I got here? Just want to go through some of our portfolio company news. Circle was in the news recently because they are actually doing some layoffs, and they're saying for regulatory reasons, the United States is actually really slowing down innovation, and they've decreased the size of their next funding round. We haven't got a confirmation on the price of their next funding round at the moment, but as soon as we have that details confirmed, we'll then update the estimated share price on the secondary market based upon the pricing event of a direct investment into the underlying company. Also, Bitfinex, one of our portfolio companies, and Ethinex, they're launching their new IEO platform, initial exchange offering platform, called TokenX, and we look forward to seeing that. Obviously, the Bitfinex SPV, the parent company, Ifinex, owns both Bitfinex shares, the Ethinex shares, TokenX shares, and other companies in the group like Tether, and various other companies in the group. So that goes under the Ifinex SPV. We look forward to doing that. We've actually introduced a potential client, and we're exploring whether that can work to test out the IEO platform for one of our portfolio companies. Also, we had an announcement that I don't like to share this blog, actually. I'm not a fan of CoinGeek. I don't like the way that they report, and I don't like some of their views around Bitcoin. But you know, here it is. Here's the article. Coinbase, one of our portfolio companies, they were in a race allegedly with Fidelity in order to acquire Zappo. For those of you new to the crypto space, Zappo was a really, really early company in crypto, and they were doing custodial storage from a very early stage. And allegedly, they have many old school Bitcoiners that were using the Zappo architecture. And for as far as we know, they've never been hacked, has never been compromised. And Coinbase and Fidelity were in a race now that they're getting into the custody space to acquire Zappo. And apparently Coinbase has secured, we haven't had a confirmation from Coinbase yet, Zappo, and allegedly the price that we saw was at a $50 million valuation. So congratulations to Coinbase if that is true. We have not had an official confirmation yet, but that's what being reported in the media. Also, Bitfinex, they did the hack recovery. If you saw previous episodes of Bank to the Future Live, I think it was episode 12 or episode 13 or 14. I can't quite remember. We had to miss one last week because Google Hangouts wasn't working. We were all ready to go live, and then Google Hangouts let us down. So we've missed our very first week, unfortunately. But Bitfinex went through the hack recovery, and we opened up a round in Leo tokens. They raised their $1 billion, it was reported to us, as a result of Crypto Capital's funds that they were using as a payment processor being seized by various governments, allegedly for Crypto Capital being an illegal shadow bank. But the case continues, and what we've been doing is, if you go to the Bank to the Future platform, we've been giving as many updates as we can on the situation. So the way that it actually works, if you go to the Bitfinex SPV, you'll notice that we have the market page. Then we also have this discussion page here. Now, this discussion page is open to any qualifying investor. You don't have to necessarily own shares in the Bitfinex SPV. And we upload various documents here as the case unfolds between the New York Attorney, States General, Bitfinex, and the crypto capital people. We've been uploading as many documents there to make as many disclosures as we can as the news unfolds. And then on the investor page, this is exclusively just for those that own shares in the Bitfinex SPV, where you can talk privately once you are a shareholder in the Bitfinex SPV, and you can get more details on the company and previous rounds and whether they raised through Bnk To The Future and various other information. And we'll look to improve that continually based upon your feedback. But we also open just to shareholders the ability to syndicate into the Leo token, which is a new native token which will be integrated into their platform. And all they do, the goal is to try and create, I guess, similar to the Binance token, BNB, but for the Bitfinex ecosystem. So we look forward to that. And thankfully, again, volatile. But the initial price was at $1. There was obviously a 5% fee there as well. But I think it's now trading approximately $1.50. So I think there was a 50% increase in price locked in from what we can see. I haven't checked the live prices, so please don't quote me on that. Just going to take a quick water break and have a quick sip of water. Okay, great. Also, we make sure you keep hold of our blog. Now, our blog is really hidden on our website. You have to scroll all the way down to the footer to see it. But we do post lots and lots of updates on our blog. So please do keep in touch with that. Looking at better ways to actually communicate this information, try and get some links on the homepage. But there's so many other things that we're working on that are taking priority to that. But please do scroll to the footer, look at our blog, and that's where we make all new announcements. Yeah, that's where you can see that. And I just want to go through, finally, just before we open up to questions, some of the new features on our platform. So if you log into your account, we just launched a membership page. This is where it explains all the perks for owning Bnk To The Future tokens and staking them onto your BnkToTheFuture.com account. You can do that in two ways. You can either do it in a custodial way where we hold them on Bnk To The Future for you. And if you hold a minimum of 10,000, then you get all the perks of being a premium member. Or you can do it in a self-custodial way. You can head over to iOS or Android. You can download the BF wallet. The BF wallet is our security token wallet, but we also have support for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Bnk To The Future tokens. So you can stake and hold those on there. And if you connect your BF wallet to your BnkToTheFuture.com account, complete your certification, your verification, then you can hold them in a self-custodial way, and you keep the private keys. Remember, if you keep the private keys, you need to have the backup phrase, you need to store those, and you need to be very careful with those. There's the pros and cons of self-custody. You need to take responsibility, or you can hold them on the Bnk To The Future platform. But remember, that's not why crypto was designed. It was designed to allow you to do things in a self-custodial way. But not everyone's there on their education yet, and people are at different levels. And so you need to make the decision about whether you'd like to hold them on the BnkToTheFuture.com platform, or you're comfortable holding them yourself, storing your own private key, securing the backup phrase in a secure way. Because if you lose it, and your phone gets lost, we can't retrieve them for you, your keys, your tokens. So we put there, if you log into your account, go to the membership page, you can understand more about being a premium member and why you should own at least 10,000 Bnk To The Future tokens. And if you decide to own more, you can spend them on our secondary market, and you get a 50% discount on all of your trading fees on the secondary market. Approximately 65% of our customers in beta have been taking advantage of that to get a discount. Also, we released this new sold feature, so you can see the companies that have actually exited on the invest tab. That's one thing, one little feature. We also launched our organizational account. So we're very excited to announce this. Many people, before this, we only supported individual accounts, but now you can sign up as a company. You need to go through the KYC verification and certification process. And then once that's all complete, your company then qualifies to invest as an organization, as opposed to doing it in your personal name. So look out for that. There is a bit of a backlog on getting your customers certified and verified at the moment, because we had to onboard so many investors in the last week. So please do be patient with us. But we've got people working through that. I know many of you are used to cryptocurrency exchanges. As a securities business, we're held to a higher bar because we have to adhere to additional regulations that cryptocurrency exchanges don't have to adhere to. But we're working on many, many more processes in order to automate and speed up that process. You just have to be a little bit patient while we release those features. We're also happy to announce our new product, which is the Bank to the Future Identity, BFID. This allows you to export in the future your verification and certification so that it can be used on other platforms such as the BF Wallet, future products that we're planning on launching, such as our securities token exchange. And we're allowing you to port that so that you can use that in the securities token ecosystem, both your verification and certification status. And we've been working hard to extract that out from the Bank to the Future platform as a separate application. And we got lots of really exciting integrations with the Bank to the Future token to announce in coming episodes of Bank to the Future Live. Also, a little sneak peek at the new funds and portfolio section. Right now, the funds and portfolio section are embarrassing. We're not happy with how they are right now. We're rebuilding it from scratch. We constantly get feedback that our customers are a little bit confused about how to find the data, how to see the value of their companies, and we've been re-engineering it from scratch. And in future releases, we'll be iterating that out in the fund section and portfolio section, but there's a little sneak peek so that you can analyze your portfolio value and your fund value in a lot more intuitive way than currently. We also released support. If you look at the Blockstream blog, they made an announcement about a partnership with Bank to the Future. We released on the BF Wallet, available on iOS and Android, Bitcoin support. And the reason we do that is because we're looking to bring many security tokens to the Bitcoin blockchain using the Liquid network, which is, adding Bitcoin support was important for that. Prior to that, we did an integration with Securitize, our portfolio company, and they were launching their securities tokens via Ethereum and the Bank to the Future token, of course. So very early stage, we got more to release there, but I just wanted to let you know you can currently use it in that way. And the goal is to launch a Liquid integration, as was announced on the Blockstream blog recently. And those are all the updates, all the portfolio updates, all the company updates. And now what I want to do is come back live on the screen. I'm just going to have a quick water break while Famida pulls out some questions for us. And hopefully you can see me right now, just figuring out my screen. Just so you know, I'm in a hotel. This is not my normal location. I just come back from the Malta AI and Blockchain Conference. We'll be putting the recordings of those videos on this YouTube channel so that you can catch up with some of the content there. But I'm currently between locations, and hopefully the internet and Wi-Fi in my current location is okay, as I'm in transit between different locations. So Famida, we're going to turn it over to you, and hopefully there's been plenty of questions in the live chat. If not, we'll look at some of the other questions from the community. And bear in mind that because we've got so many new investors that will be experiencing Bank to the Future the first time, we'll try and get through some of the newer questions that some of our more experienced investors may have heard in previous episodes of Bank to the Future Live. So over to you, Famida. What have we got?
Right. Well, the live chat has been lively. We've actually had more viewers this time than we've had before, which is amazing. 160 people joined us today. Yeah, it's great. So we do have a lot of newbie questions though, and I think it will be really beneficial if we do go through these newbie questions, because a lot of newbies have joined the live chat as well here today. So let's get into that, if that's okay with you, Simon.
Yep, let's take them. I'll get through as many as I can, and we'll end on the hour.
Cool. So what does a certified or an accredited investor mean?
Okay, so we as a securities business have to comply with international securities laws. And international securities laws, we've been doing this since 2010. We were one of the first companies lobbying Actually, when we originally started, I was based in the UK. I don't live in the UK anymore. But when we originally started, we were lobbying the regulators in order to open up investment. And some of that foundational work actually ended up leading to the US regulators changing their policy on securities laws and the Jobs Act. And that laid the foundation for many of the early tokens. So we were investors in early ones like MadeSafe, Mastercoin, and Ethereum. And that work actually led to, later in 2017, the ICO boom, and now securities tokens. And so the idea is that many of you new to crypto might not, it depends which stage you got in. I spoke at the first Bitcoin conference in 2011 and seen these lots of different cycles, and people join at different stages. But the idea is that every country has their own securities laws. And securities laws are designed to try and protect consumers how the regulatory body sees fit, and they implement different policies and procedures that securities businesses have to comply to. And as a securities business, we have to comply with international securities laws as a global platform. And we allow people to onboard unique to the jurisdiction that they reside in. And unfortunately, there's no unified process for global securities laws. And so a platform like Bnk To The Future has been working for years and years and years through different sister companies, whether it be our US broker-dealer, or whether it be different entities, or it be our parent company, or our Cayman Island registered securities business with SEMA. We have to do different things in order to comply. And so what we've done is we've tried to take out so that when you register, it only allows the people that the regulator say are allowed to invest in securities. In the case of the US, they have something called an accredited investor. And this only applies to, through our platform, because we are not a US company and we partner with a US broker-dealer, only US investors will onboard via that US broker-dealer. And those US investors will have to comply with US securities laws, as do we. And so this concept of an accredited investor is who the SEC says is allowed to invest in such high risk, high return opportunities. And I don't want to get too geeky into it because you don't really probably care. But there's different types of deals. For example, Kraken is what's called a 506c deal, which means that we're allowed to tell as many people about it, but only accredited investors are allowed to invest. So before they can actually invest, they have to complete a verification process, which follows anti-money laundering laws so that we know who you are. And then there's things like source of funds, source of wealth. But then there's accreditation certification process. That means that you certify and give evidence that you are who you say you are. You can do that in 3 ways. Either you can prove that you have an income of $200,000 or a joint income of $300,000 with your spouse, or you can prove that you own $1 million in assets through your net asset qualification. Or you can upload a third-party authentication letter where a broker-dealer, a financial professional, a lawyer, or an accountant can actually certify that you are an accredited investor. And we give you a template in certification of all the ways that you can qualify, and then you upload that. And once you've done that certification, you're then able to invest in deals that are open to the US that go via our broker-dealer. And so what we've designed is a simple process, as simple as it can be in compliance with securities laws, for you to verify yourself and certify yourself if you are a US resident to invest in different pitches that are set up in different ways when they're open to US investors. And that's what the verification and certification process is. Now, people get confused because if a US company then comes along and says you have to be an accredited investor, well, that's only if you reside in the US. If you reside in a different jurisdiction, then there are certain requirements, and every country has their own nuances, but we present to you, based upon when you register, the process that we believe to be in compliance with your local securities laws. And accredited investor is only a concept for if you reside in the US. Many people, what they do is they put everybody through a US process, but we try and do a unique process so we can open up to as many as can compliantly invest. So that's a very long question, and the answer is, please try and ignore what other people are doing because they may live in a different jurisdiction, and so their requirement may not apply to you, and just walk through the BnkToTheFuture.com platform, and we won't actually let you invest until you actually either certify or self-certify your investor status. And there's different requirements in different countries. And everybody needs to pass the KYC. We need to know who you are. You need to upload, to be safe, a passport. There's different documents you can upload, or a proof of address that's 3 months recent. And there's different requirements depending on your jurisdiction. But you don't need to know all the complication. All you need to do is follow the process in front of you, and we won't let you do anything unless you actually are a qualified investor. And if you got through that process, then you've agreed that you are, and has met the local requirements based upon our understanding of your local securities laws. So in a nutshell, we try and open up to as many people as international regulators allow us to, and we take care of the compliance, and you just need to focus on your process rather than listening to somebody else that might have a different process based upon their jurisdiction.
Right, I think you've pretty much covered everything, all the questions asked, but we'll go through them anyways. So this one in particular, it's already been covered in terms of what is a certified or an accredited investor, and therefore are you allowed to invest? So this question goes, I don't earn as much as is required to be an investor, but can I still invest $1,000 in Kraken? So somebody has savings and they just want to invest, they're not an actual investor per se.
So again, I'll have to deviate because I don't know your country of residence, but depending on your country of residence, we present for you the qualification criteria. Income is one of them, net assets is another, but different countries also have what's called a sophistication test, where if you can demonstrate that you meet certain requirements, you understand investing, you pass our quiz, then you might also qualify to invest. Unfortunately, without actually knowing your jurisdiction and your particular situation, I can't actually answer that question, but our platform will answer it for you. Once you are an investor, the minimum investment on the platform, it won't let you invest less it won't let you invest less than you are allowed to on the platform. It tends to be that the minimum investment requirement is $1,000, but certain categories would only let you invest $100,000, for example. So unfortunately, I can't give you a blanket answer, but if it allows you to invest $1,000, then it means you do qualify, because based upon what you've told us about yourself and the documents you provided. So we won't let you do things that you're not allowed to do. That is the goal of the platform, unless there's an additional law or something, and we have our compliance team will flag that up in the closing.
Yeah, or unless there is a glitch or some sort of a technical bug that allowed somebody to invest without certifying or without actually selecting a type of investor status. So somebody in the live chat has already just said, I didn't self-certify, but was allowed to invest. So
Not possible.
Yeah.
So the pitch will, now you may have self-certified when you originally signed up, so it doesn't ask you to do it every single time, but it's enforced by code in our platform that you would have to self-certify before you can see an investor page, before you can actually do that. Don't get that confused with verification. Verification is us knowing that you are, and you have to do that before it closes. But we won't let you transact with at least self-certifying, and then there may be additional requirements depending on where you reside. But if that has actually happened, then please give some screenshots to our support team. But in all the years that we've been running, that has not happened once without you going through the self-certification. But do remember, you might have signed up maybe a while ago, not remember that you self-certified, because it won't require you to do it again unless you meet the requirement where we have to re-self-certify you over a certain period, which depends on your jurisdiction. So if you invested, then you did go through the self-certification process.
I think it would be worth mentioning what types of investor statuses there are available. So there's 3 types, right? And what do they each stand for?
There's actually about 9 types. So it's, But the way to get the answer is to register on the platform, and we won't let you do it. So you could be a verified, non-verified, accredited via income, via net assets, or via third-party authentication letter. You could be a sophisticated investor, which is a definition that applies to certain jurisdictions. So the reason I don't necessarily want to go through them all is because it's very boring for you to learn about different certification statuses that don't apply to you. All you need to focus on is what the screen tells you, and the different statuses there. But the platform won't let you do anything unless you meet the requirements.
Right. Okay. So let's move on to the next official question here. I have already invested, but my income is not as much as what's required to be a qualified investor. Can I take my investment back?
If you have agreed to something that is not actually you, then if you, for example, said that you meet the income requirement and then you can't provide the evidence or additional documentation if required in your jurisdiction, then we won't take you on as an investor. And if you now are disclosing to us that you do not meet the requirement that you told us you met, then you would need to tell our support, and then we would need to rectify that situation based upon your individual situation and what you told us. But remember, the income requirement is only one requirement. You might have used a sophistication requirement instead, or you might have used a net asset requirement. You don't have to meet all of them. You just have to meet one of those. And if you're now telling us that when you registered, you told us that you meet that, but then you don't, then just please let our support team know, and our support team will try and rectify that.
Okie dokie. What is the lock-in period for Kraken, and how long is it for? And what do we do if we want to liquidate early?
So you can't liquidate early. This is a long-term, high-risk, high-return investment, but we do provide various options that are not guaranteed, and we can't guarantee liquidity. So you only invest in Kraken if you want to be a shareholder for the long term. And remember, the company might go bust in the future and be worth nothing, in which case you would lose all your capital. We would put you through a quiz before investing to make sure you understand those rules around it and suitability. But the way to liquidate is either Kraken goes public in the future, and if it doesn't go public, then there would have to be a liquidity event, like an acquisition where another company purchases it, or a management buyout where the board actually ends up buying it, but none of those are guaranteed, so there may be no exit. The other additional option we have is over-the-counter secondary market where you can place buy and sell orders with other qualifying investors on Bnk To The Future. And depending on your country, there'll be a different lock-in period. The minimum lock-in period, for example, in the US is 1 year. In most other jurisdictions, it might be 3 months. Until you can place an OTC order, and then we can't guarantee liquidity. This is really not, a flip. It's not a public company. This is long-term, high-risk, high-return equity investing, and most people are investing for the longer term and building a diversified portfolio and trying to benefit from the growth of a general diversified portfolio, of believing that the future of finance and the fintech industry is going to disrupt traditional finance and grow to a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And then hopefully you pick some of the companies that are going to be having the valuation increases along the way, is the idea. Now, you might also just be investing in Kraken for evangelistic reasons because you want to be a part of a company that's involved in something you're excited about. But in terms of returns, it is that you're looking for share price increases if any of those events happen. And also worth noting, most people don't invest in private equity for dividends. Normally you'd invest in another asset class for income. But if Kraken ever did pay dividends, then we would pass those on and we would distribute them to your account on Bnk To The Future. And we charge a 5% carry for that, which means that you would receive we would charge 5% of any distribution, and then you can withdraw them from your BnkToTheFuture.com account using either a bank wire through our banking partner, or you could use a cryptocurrency like Tether if it's paid in dollars, or maybe it's paid in Bitcoin and you could withdraw Bitcoin. We pay on the same currency that is received. from those dividends.
Alrighty, let's move on to the next question. When I invest $1,000, it shows 0.0% equity in the company. What does that mean?
That's probably us displaying with not enough decimal places. So it would be great to understand where that is displayed. And if you report that to us, then we'll make sure that the decimal places are correct. If it's not, head over to the portfolio section of your account, and it will display the actual percentage of the underlying company that you owned, as well as the percentage of the SPV. So you will own a percentage of the company that holds Kraken shares, or a beneficial interest in the amount, the percentage of the entire company, based upon the number of shares that Kraken discloses to us that can change in the future. So yeah, it's not 0%. It's probably, we need to display to 4 decimal places, because Kraken is a higher valuation as they're a later stage.
Yeah, I think it actually is displayed like that, 0.00000 something 0.1.
Okay, so that's 1. Okay, well, if it is displayed somewhere else as 0.0, then we'll please do let us know, and we'll try and get that fixed and display more decimal places. But I know in other places it is displayed correctly, but maybe they found a place where we haven't noticed.
Okay, so I have a question here about the raising funds. So earlier Kraken was raising $10.2 million, and now they are raising $15.4 million. Does that mean my equity will be diluted?
Great question. So the way that BnkToTheFuture.com works is we allow for overfunding. What overfunding means is that you have a minimum funding goal. The minimum funding goal means they have to raise that amount in order for the transaction to complete. Kraken beat the minimum funding goal very quickly. It then goes to a total funding goal, and the total funding goal is the amount they wanted to raise. Now, remember, the Kraken round is part of a larger round, so they're taking on direct investors, as part of a larger round. And because it was so successful, they allowed for what we call overfunding. Overfunding is where they allocate more equity to our special company. And that means that that Kraken are selling more equity. Your equity is not being diluted if you're invested in that round. So the goal went from 10 million to 15 million because they gave another 5 million to our SPV, because they wanted to invite more and more people because it was so successful. And so the amount of equity on offer increased to complete the valuation, so that the valuation is the same. You're not being diluted. If we ever were to change terms like that and dilute you, then we would give you the option of a refund before actually doing that, because we don't increase the valuation. If you've already invested, they're just giving our SPV, our special company, the ability to subscribe to more of the equity as part of a greater round. So in effect, it doesn't affect you in any way other than that there are more shares in the SPV and the valuation's the same.
All right, we have 5 more minutes on the clock. Are you prepared to go a little bit over, or do you want to carry on answering these questions?
Sure, let's carry on. We can do another 15 if we want, if there's good questions that we need to do.
All right. How does BF make sure that the company is valued at the right price for its investors?
We don't. What we do is what we tend to do, and there might be a few exceptions to this, is we look for Kraken they would, for example, in the case of Kraken, they would set their valuation and they would put it out to the market, and they would try and find a professional investor or a VC, and the VC and professional investor would then negotiate a valuation. And if they transact at that valuation, that then sets the valuation. Then we would co-invest on the same terms. Now, sometimes we lead around, in which case we would be negotiating a valuation. And then what we do is we would just then present it and investors can then make their own individual decision about whether they think there's return opportunity, or whether the valuation is lower or higher, or whether they think there's going to be higher valuation opportunities in the future. So it's up to the individual investor to agree or disagree with the valuation. And we tend to have two types of companies. We have very early stage companies. So Kraken was originally a company where, people thought that maybe a 20 million valuation was crazy at the time. But now they've, look where they've grown. And those are our earlier stage companies. Those are much higher risk and more likely to fail. The later stage companies, they are lower risk, still high risk, but the valuations are higher. And then you have to make a judgment about whether you think that there is a valuation increase potential. And we provide several tools. We provide all the information on the investor page, and we provide the investor discussion forum where you can ask questions. And if you don't agree with the valuations, then it's simply don't invest, is the way that it actually works. But we will try and get the best valuation we can possibly get. And then we will present that valuation, and then the investors have the choice. Or it also depends on the lead investor setting the valuation as well. So it has to be set by the market, really. The company sets it, and then you can decide whether to agree or disagree by investing or not investing.
Okay, I think we're done with most of the newbie questions. We have a lot of questions in the live chat.
Okay, let's try and get through some.
Where to begin? Okay, so is Bank to the Future planning to be listed on, sorry, not Bank to the Future, is BFT planning to be listed on Challenge or Shapeshift?
I think they mean Changely or Shapeshift.
Oh, sorry, yes, Changely, sorry.
Yep. Well, we don't control the token. The Bank to the Future token is an ERC20 token. It's open source code, and any exchange is free to do with the Bank to the Future token as they please. We don't actually control that process. So it's integrated, for example, with several exchanges who have all made the decision to list the Bank to the Future token. It's integrated with coin payments, so they have millions and millions transacted through their merchant processing, and anyone can decide to accept Bank to the Future tokens. Shapeshift is one of our portfolio companies. They have a criteria, and they hopefully will get to integrating Bank to the Future token. I think they would look for a minimum liquidity requirement in order to meet some of those shifting orders, and Changely the same as well. But yeah, so we don't actually control that process. That is up to the exchanges to do their custom integrations, should they choose to work with Bank to the Future. If they would like additional information, then we can try and support them with the information they need. And we think that the Bank to the Future token, once we come out of beta in the secondary market, just from our beta stats, we think a lot more people are going to be using the Bank to the Future token in order to get their 50% discounted trading fees. And our goal at the Bank to the Future token is to, when we utilize the Bank to the Future token, is to kind of like Binance created BNB for the cryptocurrency industry for their ecosystem. We're looking to do similar things for the securities token and securities ecosystem. And we've got lots planned in the future that we want to launch centered around that. But yes, to answer your question, we could try and influence it, but it's an open source project. And if Changely or Shapeshift want to integrate that, they can do that. We don't control the code.
You just mentioned the ecosystem. There's a question here. As the main token of Bank to the Future's ecosystem, where should BFT be placed on the market cap ranking?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but at the moment, the Bank to the Future token is on CoinMarketCap, and it is a top 200 token at the moment. Our goal, if we can utilize the Bank to the Future token as part of the ecosystem, we think it should be a top 100 token. That's what we'd love to achieve. But our job is just to make the Bank to the Future token more and more useful in more and more parts of our ecosystem, and also other people can start to use the Bank to the Future token in parts of their ecosystem, just like coin payments and other integrations. But the Bank to the Future token, we are very grateful to be a token holder, and we want to integrate it in all the different processes of our ecosystem, whether that be the BF wallet for security tokens, or whether that be our future plans with security token exchange, or whether that be our secondary market or our primary offerings, or some of our other projects like Bank to the Future ID, and various other parts of our ecosystem that we're building out with our different teams. And we've got lots of announcements planned for what we're going to be doing with that in the future.
Okay. We can see that Kraken has mentioned about Bank to the Future. Is there a possibility that BF token will be listed on the Kraken exchange?
Kraken haven't confirmed with us at this stage, or they have neither confirmed nor denied whether they'll be listing the Bank to the Future token. That would be up to Kraken's policy, and we would not disclose any kind of insider information if something like that did actually happen. I think Kraken has a very strict policy around how they would actually disclose new token listings, and that's not us. It's them.
All right, just bear with me. I'm just sifting through these questions because some of them are duplicated questions worded differently. Do you think Kraken will reach the secondary market?
I'm very reluctant to guarantee that at this stage, and I also have to be careful what I say. But Kraken is the exact type of company that we would look to have listed for our qualifying investors to place buy and sell orders with each other via the over-the-counter trading market on BnkToTheFuture.com. I know that sounds like a political answer, but we have to be very careful with how we describe these things and how we're actually presenting this information, because it is still a long-term, high-risk, high-return investment. The goal is not for people to flip these things, to start treating them as cryptocurrencies. And this is a longer-term, high-risk, high-return investment that may not have liquidity. But our goal is to provide, opportunities, and Kraken is the exact type of company that we would look to have on our OTC order book and the secondary market on Bank to the Future.
All right, what is coming? What is coming for us after this Kraken investment for us investors?
So maybe you missed the beginning. I went through upcoming pitches, but let me just pull up my show notes so I can see that for you. Upcoming deals we've got are the ones we can announce anyway. Edge, which is a wallet token market involved in the security token and token ecosystem. For premium members, blockchain.com is our next secondary market listing that we're looking to do, and CoinFirm as well. And the way to find out about those is to be a premium member and deposit 10,000 Bank to the Future tokens to your BnkToTheFuture.com account or your BF wallet. And I'm frantically trying to figure out where my screen is. There it is. Okay.
Okay. Since you just touched on they need to have 10,000 BF tokens in their account or on their BF wallet, where do they get their BF tokens from?
So the Bank to the Future tokens, if you go to coinmarketcap.com and put in BFT in the search bar, you'll find the Bank to the Future token. The ticker symbol is BFT. And they list the different exchanges that allow people to buy and sell Bank to the Future tokens. Off memory, you've got Bitfinex, ETHFinex, Bittrex, Huobi, Gate.io, DragonX, and some various other exchanges, remember. These are third-party exchanges. You have to do your own research. It's not an endorsement from us to use any of those exchanges, but those are the different exchanges which allow you to buy and sell Bank to the Future tokens, as far as we can tell. And I think there's Quabi Korea as well, and and Upbit as well. So it's listed on several cryptocurrency exchanges.
All right, I am thinking that maybe we should just end on this last question from the live chat. Are you concerned about regulations, or more specifically, the lack of regulations in the industry?
We're very concerned about regulations, and we spend all of our time ever since we started in 2010 dealing with regulations and compliance, and it's integral to all we do. I think there's two parts to that question. The first part is Bank to the Future, our business, and at Bank to the Future, the rules are pretty clear. Securities laws has been around for an awful long time. They're being updated, they're being upgraded. A lot of work we've done to try and get those updated and upgraded over the years. And so the rules are pretty clear around securities laws. What is very murky and very challenging is certain jurisdictions with certain crypto products. And yes, we have been the victim for some of our deals that we've invested in being the wrong side of regulations. For example, Coin, they were the largest exchange in India. The Indian environment, regulatory environment, completely changed around cryptocurrencies, and that led to a very unfavorable outcome so far for Coin, as they had to sit there and wait for regulators rather than trading. And so these situations, it is one of the risks when investing in this industry, but it also is what creates arbitrage opportunities for different exchanges and different jurisdictions, different opportunities. But yeah, the regulations is a major part of our industry, and in some jurisdictions, it creates an amazing opportunity. I just come back from Malta, and Malta are getting real crystal clear on what tokens are, what securities are, what distributed ledger technology is, what blockchains are, and they're building custom opportunities around that because they see the growth opportunity and jobs that are being created from this industry as a result, whereas other jurisdictions might be a bit more murky and less clear. I'm sorry if you are born in the US, because it's particularly challenging around token sales and different definitions. And unfortunately, the rest of the world doesn't want to take risks and allow American investors or purchasers in certain deals. But our job is to try and navigate that environment and understand that the underlying companies do have regulatory risks. But our job is to try and comply and make that a simple user experience for you, so that you can onboard in compliance with your local jurisdiction. So there's kind of two parts to that question. But to answer your question simply, yes, it's a big concern. We invest significant resources in that, and anyone in our industry needs to be looking at those things. So was that the last question from you?
Well, I mean, there are loads of questions in the chat, but it is kind of all over the place. We do have Irvin and Aman managing the live chat whilst I've been asking you the questions. But yeah, I think that is the majority of the questions that we've had over the week, and in Telegram and in various other platforms.
Okay, what we need to try and remember to do, and the team, if you're listening, we need to make sure that we've got all the links below this video to our Telegram group, our Twitter, and various other channels in which you can engage. Yeah, we need to make sure that everyone can do that so that they can communicate with us in the medium that they prefer most. We do want to give some final things. Do bear with us at the moment. We are under extreme volume in support tickets, so there's a slight delay on support. We will get round to them. I'm sorry for any delays, but we're trying to get through those at the moment, and we're putting additional resources to get through those. We're getting through as many certification and verification processes. We're also investing in great systems to improve that. As I said, we have a higher bar in terms of regulatory requirement than a cryptocurrency exchange, but we're really excited about the Bank to the Future identity and the different solutions to make this experience a lot better, a lot faster, and a lot more real time. So do reach out, we have our Telegram channel where we try and engage as much as we can. Hashtag BF Live on Twitter. And we're here each and every week. So please do use the comments. We'll try and pick it up next week. Use the opportunity on the live chat. And last week was the first time we missed it due to technical reasons. But please subscribe to this channel. Please, that will like this channel, share this channel. That really helps us as well reach more of the community. And hit that bell notification so that YouTube can send you an email notification when we go live. Also remember that we have the investor zone and the discussion forums on each pitch. So utilize those opportunities to get your questions answered. And yeah, we thank you for being a part of it. And I think that's going to do it. Thank you to Famida and the rest of the team for moderating and getting through some of those questions. Thanks to the community for answering, bringing up great questions for us to cover and joining us as a new person. Remember also, if you want to binge and you really want to build a portfolio, go through all the previous episodes of Bank to the Future Live. We've got on our FAQ, our support page, I think we've got links to all of those. Or you can just go through YouTube on the videos tab and see all the different videos from previous episodes. We've been through a lot of this stuff, or just wait till next week and we'll answer your question if you join our community. So that's going to do it for another episode of, episode 15 of Bank to the Future Live, and we'll see you next week, same time for episode 16. Thank you.